webinar now. So once again, thank you very much for joining us today for this Sablono starter webinar. I hope everyone can hear me well. In case you are facing audio issues or you can't see my screen or anything, please just leave a message in the chat. Also, if you have questions in the meantime, just leave your questions there. I'm trying to keep an eye on those questions as well. I'm going to be hosting this webinar alone today, so I'm going to pick up your questions for sure, maybe with a little delay, but we are going to discuss those definitely in any case. So yeah, once again, thank you very much for joining us today. This is meant to be a Sablono starter webinar, so for everyone who's not so deep in the topic of what Sablono does, what it's all about, and also maybe who's not familiar with the topic of data-driven construction management in general. So obviously I'm also going to touch this a little bit to show you what options we have with the technology that is out there at the moment and what we can do with sophisticated data analytics in construction in the future. Just a quick introduction of myself. My name is Florian. As I said at the beginning, I'm one of the co-founders of the company. Company is called Sablono. We founded the company almost 7 years ago now. And here on this beautiful picture, you can see some of my colleagues. We have been to a field trip end of last year to London, actually. And what you see here is a development by the main contractor Lend-Lease, who's one of our clients. And we were lucky enough just before COVID hit the world to enter one of their major construction sites in the city of London and to have a look around and see how our platform is being used there. It was quite impressive, actually. Very beautiful development. A few hundreds of residential units are being built there. And as you can see, the team had a lot of fun. What is the company all about? So as I said, name is Sablono. You're probably well aware of this. We founded the company a couple of years ago in Berlin, actually. We're a spin-off company from Technical University of Berlin. So previous to founding the company, we've been working on a research project, which was also related to the topic of data management in construction or process management in construction. Hence, we have a very broad background in this topic and a lot of experience. And now we're doing this as a company for almost 7 years now. Here are some logos of companies that are working with us, mainly international developers and general contractors working on large construction sites all around the world. At the moment, we have projects in the Middle East, in Northern Africa, in Central Europe, as well as South America. So different regions, different languages as well. many users from various countries are using the platform on those large and complex construction projects. Here are some of those projects to give you a little insight into the complexity and the size of these projects, because that's basically what sets Sablono apart from other solutions that you might be aware of. We're being used in the large and complex construction projects. And here are some of these examples. You see some high-rise towers that are being built in London or Dubai, some large hotels as the Royal Atlantis Palm in Dubai, or also the Louvre Museum in Abu Dhabi. And what they all have in common, obviously, is the sheer complexity of those sites. You normally have a couple of hundreds of residential units or hotel rooms or facade elements or whatever it might be in the particular project. But definitely it is a vast amount of activities, a lot of complexity, many people involved, different companies involved, all working together to execute that particular building. And this is also maybe another very important factor about Sablono. We are focusing completely on the execution phase of construction projects. So we're not located in the planning phase, but really in the execution phase and the management of the execution. And to show you the complexity a little more, I have chosen 3 projects to quickly give you some background information where this complexity comes from. On the left side, you can see that Louvre Abu Dhabi Museum, which we actually had as one of our first projects a couple of years ago already, where we were chosen by the main contractor for the steel facade or the steel dome structure that you see there for the supply chain management and the production management of those elements. I think we had more than 8,000 elements there, which had to be produced offsite and installed on the site. And in total, we were facing about 100,000 activities that needed to be managed, mapped out and planned in the first place, obviously, but then managed throughout the execution phase across the supply chain, across different locations in order to complete this dome structure there. And then in the middle, you can see a common residential project that we normally are being used in. This is a development from the company called Mace in the city of London. Here they built about 1,000 apartments, and we were used for the tracking and the monitoring and the management of the interior fit-out works, as well as the off-site production of bathroom units, as well as facade elements. So again, there the complexity was not only happening on the site, but also off-site in prefabrication. And obviously, there are a lot of interconnections and links between what's happening on the site and what's happening off the site. Hence, everything was managed and monitored together on our platform. And on the right side, you see one major development in Dubai, which is Dubai Uptown Tower. And this one consists of about 250,000 activities in total on our platform, as we are looking at really the full scope from the planning process, engineering process, to the structure works, the interior fit out, as well as the facade eventually. So here we're looking at the full scope, and the platform is being used for the full scope in order to be managed on our platform. And obviously, as you can imagine, this requires a lot of data, or this generates a lot of data. And the question is, how do we manage that? Not only in our industry, but basically in many other industries as well. People are saying data is the new oil, and that's absolutely correct. The only question is, if data is the new oil, how do we make sure that we get the most out of this data, or we make use out of this data in order to manage our sites and manage our challenges? And I brought you one very intuitive or very interesting quote from one of our clients, who says that construction projects are usually like a huge piece of machinery due to its complexities. And it's about finding the oil that makes it all run smoothly. And then obviously we're halfway there, or maybe even full way there. And this is basically what it's all about. It's about finding this oil, so finding the data, finding the information, gathering that information, but also then managing it and making sense of it in order to use it and to use it on the projects. And it's not that we have not gathered information or data in the previous times, or in the times before systems like Sablono came up in construction at all. Obviously, we have done a lot of data has been captured in many different ways in the last 10, 15, 20 years. But the question is, how did we do it, and which tools did we use in order to do it? And I think most of you are aware of the problems that we face at the moment. A lot of the data that we have available is unstructured, is error prone, is not really correct, oftentimes outdated, not real time at all. It requires a lot of manual work in order to process the data, and then also to distribute the data to different people, and obviously to structure it in order to use it on the projects. And that's basically why we thought, when founding the company, that it's about time to change that, and came up with the idea of Sablono and the system that we are providing today. And this is what it is. We call it data-driven construction management platform, sometimes also production management system or construction execution system. And you can consider this something like a production management system for construction projects. And we are adapting approaches from other industries here, from manufacturing industries, for example, and bring them to construction in order to improve efficiency and productivity also in construction. The underlying idea behind it is to find a way to standardize and to structure all information around the processes that are going to be executed on the site, to centralize this all on one single platform and to make it available to everyone who's involved in the execution process. Sometimes we also say we democratize the project information for everyone who is involved. And the solution itself consists of a web platform, which you can see on the left side. This is the central hub, basically, where you plan your project, where you analyze your project, where all the information comes together from the different participants. And then on the bottom right, you see our mobile applications. These ones obviously are being used in the field by the different participants, all subcontractors, the main contractor, sometimes even the client, people who are producing elements offsite the construction site, in order to feed back their progress information, their status information, quality issues, and a lot more information in order for everyone to have access to it on the central web platform that you see on the left side. And what we're trying to achieve here is streamlining the process across company borders. Sometimes we are called the heartbeat of the project, just as production management systems are also something like the heartbeat of what's happening in the production. Because this system is basically trying to automatically manage everything that is supposed to happen on the site across company borders. This is pretty important in construction, and this is also one of the major differences from construction to other industries. We have to work with a large supply chain. Normally, we have a lot of subcontractors on our side, and it's about bringing them all together since they're anyway working on one project together. But when you look at the information that is being passed around, normally this is not centralized and structured. Hence, we're trying to bring this all together on the platform. On the right side, you see some examples of subcontractors. Pretty sure you're all aware of this. Different trades, different subcontractors working on-site, off-site. And it's always about the question, who's supposed to do what, when, where, in which order or which sequence, and in which quality on my site. And now remember again, we're talking about those large construction sites where we end up with 100,000 or even more construction activities. This is a major challenge here, as they're all interconnected. They change almost on a daily basis. Many people feed in different progress information or status information on a regular basis, and you constantly need to update the system, constantly need to be able to inform the people about changes, so everyone stays in the loop of what's happening on the site. The mobile application is a crucial part, obviously, of the solution, because this is what the people are using in the field to update everyone else. And it's actually a quite sophisticated mobile application, especially considering that we're working in this complex environment. What you see on the very left is what happens or what people are going to see when they open the mobile application. It's a smart application. It understands the user. It understands the responsibilities of this user or of the group of users working together on a package or for a subcontractor. And when you open the mobile application, it will tell you automatically what you are supposed to do today on this particular project. You and your colleagues obviously working together in one company. And this information is complex, but still we're trying to make it as understandable and as easy as possible for the people to just see, okay, what am I supposed to do today? This obviously is interlinked with the underlying schedule of the project. This is connected to all updates that have come in so far, maybe just a minute ago. And still we're trying to constantly send the latest information to everyone. So is the dry liner able to go on floor number 10 and work in apartment number 5 to work on the drywalls there? Or is it not possible because some material is not there or some predecessing activities have not yet been finished? For the trades themselves, it's fairly easy to understand. They just pick up their mobile application, they enter our application, and find the list of activities that they have to execute. And then what we want from them is an update. And that's what you see on the second screen. We just ask them, have you executed this activity? Are you done with it? Or have you started working on this? Or are you not able to work on this? Many different options are possible here to very quickly get an update from the people as to whether they were able to work on this or not. And on top of this, they can also report qualities in the form of pictures, for example. They can attach issues, obstructions, general information directly to this activity. So project management and everyone else who's involved can always see that while somebody was trying to execute this particular activity, they found an issue with some other trade, or the way was blocked, material wasn't there, whatever it might be, and it's directly located within the process attached to a particular activity. And what you also see here in the middle is, you could call it one of our latest feature. This is the whole workflow around digital quality assurance processes. Here you can even attach quality checklists, QA check sheets to individual activities, so that when subcontractors finish their works, they are forced to fill in a predefined check sheet that was defined by the main contractor or by the client, for example, to really confirm that they have executed the work in a way that they were supposed to do it. This can then be confirmed or rejected. Many different things are possible here as well. Just a schematic overview, very quick, of how that then works. It's basically what I've just taken you through. You see in the colors on the top the different trades and the different parties working together on a project here, and how the information is being passed on from one trade to the other. What you can see here is project management apparently has defined something that trade 1 has to execute. The tasks are automatically being sent to this trade. They fill in the progress information, send it back to the platform automatically, and depending on responsibilities, dependencies, schedule information, and many other things, this information is then being processed and passed on to everyone who's next in the chain, so to speak. Same goes for quality. Also, while reporting back the progress of activities or the status of activities, they can also then report quality information in the form of those checklists that I've just shown you. So again, here a trade says, yes, I'm working on this particular activity, or actually I've already finished this particular activity. Then this check sheet comes up directly on their mobile application, and they're being asked a couple of questions on top, according to what the main contractor or the client wants to see. When they fill it in, they digitally sign it with their password. It's going to be sent up to the platform and in real time passed on to the next authority, mostly the main contractor, project management, or the client, who would then either confirm or reject the work package or the quality or this particular activity. Now I'm going to show you, I hope this is working over the web. Otherwise, I'm going to share the link with you later today. This is a quick video of how this looks on the site. This is the development that I've shown you before in the center of London. Here, a worker scans a Sablono QR code in order to then find the activities that he or she is supposed to execute. And in a very simple way, in a very simple matter, he can just report back this progress information, and instantly this information becomes available to everyone in the office or offsite the construction site, especially in times of COVID-19. Most of our clients find this very useful because oftentimes we see that project management is either not allowed to go to the site or just goes to the site with a minimum of people. And now they have access to everything that happens on their site, even though they are not on their site physically. The result of all of that, obviously, is data. And that brings me to the topic of data-driven construction management. So everything that you've seen so far is how we do it and a little bit of why we do it. But the actual why, or the actual result of where we want to get to, is to drive and to steer our project based on that data that is being gathered on the site, because that's basically the innovation. That's what's new to the industry, because this has never been done before in such a way. because only now that we're gathering all that information on such a high level of detail, we're able to really take action from it and to steer the project on a daily basis and to improve it. And what some of our clients have implemented based on Sablono is something that we call control rooms or digital site dashboards. These are real life pictures, so we didn't make them up from different projects. And what you see here is on the left side, for example, just a normal site office. And within the site office, you have a large screen. And on that screen, you find one of Sablono's visualization that provides everyone who's interested in the status of the project real-time information of what's going on. This is a residential project that you see there, and all the squares represent residential units. And if on the site now, in real time, a worker would change a status for a particular apartment, for example, everyone would see this right away on the screen, the color would change, and we would know that the status of this apartment has just changed. On the right side, you see regular meetings that happen on sites, either on a daily basis or weekly basis, together with subcontractors or only the project management team. But also here, they're using the Sablono application, which is, by the way, completely touch ready to be used on large touch screens, in order to discuss the upcoming weeks or the upcoming days and the remaining work based on real-time and reliable project information. Coming from different sources, again, coming from all of their subcontractors into the platform in real time. And this has tremendous effects on the efficiency of those meetings, obviously, and especially if you think about how many times you end up in endless discussions about, have we executed some of the work in this part of the project already or not? And nobody is really sure what actually has happened or hasn't happened. Here you have one single source of truth that you can go to and that you can use as a basis for your discussion with your subcontractors. And what the people are using there are various dashboards, obviously. I'm going to take you through a couple of examples now. But in general, one could say that's the most important result of what you're going to get out of Sablono. You're going to have a lot of ways of analyzing your data to the smallest level of detail possible, basically, broken down to every single construction activity if you want to, in order to understand status, in order to understand performance, in order to do projections for the upcoming weeks and days, in order to change your schedule, whatever it might be. Everything can be done on the platform here. And what you see here on the left, for example, is a chart providing you with plan versus actual information around activities, around certain deliverables of your project. On the right, you see performance curves for activities, for trades, where you can early on in the project understand, are we on track, or have we already fallen behind our initial plan, and should we adjust the plan and talk to the trades in order to make up for the delay. Another important part of our platform is the capabilities of visualizations. Here you can see some of the examples on the right side. So many things are possible here. We can either visualize the status in floor plans. We can create schematic visualizations. We can take facade elevations in order to represent the status. No matter what it's going to be in your project, it will always consist of reliable real-time information. And if we stick with the one on the top right here again, this is a residential project again, where every square represents one apartment. And normally you would then also find a legend here. I'm going to show you another example in a second, showing you what the colors mean. So which status those apartments have currently reached. We can see information around issues. We can click on all of those in order to dive into more detail and understand the detailed process behind it. Same approach, basically, or same idea behind this visualization. This one is a bit special. This is the Dubai Uptown Tower that you've seen at the beginning. And this is a facade elevation where we are going to track or our client is going to track every single facade element, which are going to obviously be prefabricated offsite the construction site, then shipped to the site, installed on site, and the whole process from production to installation can be monitored panel by panel on the platform. So eventually somebody could just now click on one of those panels and then find the information around it. This is the second example I wanted to show you in regards to the schematic visualizations. Two buildings that we're seeing here, and again, all the squares are representing apartments. And now you can see on the right side a legend showing you what color stands for which of the activities or which status we've reached in those ones. There are a lot of other capabilities here. I can browse a status, which I think is a very valuable feature as well. For example, when you discuss with your trades in which areas they can work and which areas are ready for them to execute their work in. So you can browse status as to show me all apartments in which we have already done the floor works, in which the plumbers can go in, or the dry lining guys can come in and do their work. So many different ways of finding the right information that you're interested in order to steer your project. Another dimension, obviously, is the schedule. What you're seeing here is what we call the week plan or look ahead schedule of your project. As Sablono holds the overall schedule for all construction activities that are being scheduled here or being planned in your project, we can also present them in a weekly or 3-week look ahead schedule, as you can see here on the right side. It's a very simple principle, but yet very powerful at the same time. Here in this visualization, I can just go through all the elements that we're going to work on in the next 3 weeks. I can filter this by team, I can filter this by project structure, and only look at the things that I'm interested in, the works that a certain team is going to work on in the following weeks. This is obviously being used for coordination meetings with trades, but also this is being used to adapt the schedule in a very agile fashion. So for example, if we were talking to the trade that is responsible for executing activity number 19 in apartment 201, the installation of the subfloor and underfloor heating, and we've just talking to the guys, and they have said we're not able to execute this in the week at the moment. Then we can just shift it to the next week, postpone it into the next week, and also move the whole sequence of activities around, or just take that one activity and isolate it from the rest and move it around. Again, a very visual way of incorporating changes into your schedule if you want to, together with your subcontractors. And again, in real time, everything else is being updated. All mobile applications will again show the new dates. And obviously the trades will also be informed about the new plan that you've just set up and changed. So you have a baseline schedule that you've set up in Sablono, and on top of that, you have your 3-week look ahead agile schedule that represents what the people are actually going to do and actually going to execute. On top of that, so everything that you've seen up until here are basically standard Sablono visualizations. They're all embedded into our platform. They come out of the box if you decide to do or to execute one of your projects on our platform. But on top of that, with most of our clients, we're also developing or creating customized dashboards, because most clients would like to see something in a different fashion or in another level of detail. And for this, we've created a Sablono API, which allows you to connect the project information that is being held in Sablono to a tool, for example, like Microsoft Power BI or others, in order to then generate your customized dashboards. We can help you with this. We have long experience with creating those. We have a couple of templates that can obviously also be reused across your projects. But if you don't find one that suits your needs, we're happy to help you set them up just for you. And I would like to give you some examples of what you can do with this. And this again ties into the topic of data-driven management of your construction site, especially when you talk about a topic like performance. We believe it's very, very important early on in the project to understand the actual performance of your site, and not in the form of an estimation. Say, I think we're good on track. We believe we're 20% finished with certain works or anything like that. No, we really want to know whether the project is going as planned or not, and if not, what this then means for the future and for your final deadline, for example, or also for all milestones in between. Hence, we've created various dashboards, and I think the most important one, obviously, is the performance dashboard, which allows you to really understand the performance of every single subcontractor for every single construction activity that's been scheduled. For example, in regards to the durations, that is one critical example, for example. So how did we plan to execute this particular activity, and how did we end up actually doing it? So let's say you're 4 weeks in your project, and we're working on the structure at the moment, and there's a certain activity around some of the structure works here, and you plan to do it within 1 or 2 days. And after 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, you can see that actually the trade contractor needs 4 or 5 days to execute this activity. So we can identify this problem early on, and we can then project, if we keep up this performance, where the project is going to head to, and what other problems this will cause. Same goes for handover times. Very important topic in interior fit out, for example. In large developments, it's very, very common that, especially when you look at apartments or hotel rooms, sometimes those units are being abandoned for days, sometimes even weeks, just because the following trade has not been informed on time that they can come in and already take it over and do their works. Also there, we can very early on in the project understand this gap, understand the problem in the handover times, and try to reduce it as much as possible. So again, obviously the system is not solving the issue itself, but it gives you transparency. It gives you insights into those very crucial values, so that you then, as human beings, can take appropriate actions. This is very important for me, because sometimes people look at technology and think technology would just solve all the issues itself. We're just going to buy a new software and everything is going to go as planned. Obviously, this is not the case. But if you're using a system like ours, you will be in a much more powerful situation than ever before, because you will be able to understand what's happening on your site in a fashion that is new, and that is a lot more detailed than anything that you've done probably before. Another important topic, root cause analytics, forecasts based on performance. I don't want to go too much into detail here. We have a dedicated webinar for especially that, but I think you can already estimate or understand that these are fairly crucial topics, and with these insights, you can do a lot of things in order to improve your performance. Same goes for the topic of quality. So as I said at the beginning, Sablono not only covers the topic of progress and the dimension of time, but it also covers everything around quality and also cost analytics. I'm going to show you this in a second as well. But for me, the second most important dimension, besides the time and besides the process and the progress and the performance, obviously is the quality. Are we working, or are my subcontractors working as expected? Is the quality as expected or not? And if it's not as expected, who is responsible for it? Where do we find most of the issues? What types of issues do we find? And what's the implication of these issues? And again, this is a very important topic here, because you might be aware of a lot of issue management or snagging tools, which allow you to take a digital representation of your plan and then put a pin onto the plan and say, I've located an issue here, the trade contractor needs to come in and redo it. We think this is a very valuable information, But on top of that, we as Sablono would like to encourage you to not only attach this to some visual on the plan, but to really attach this to process steps and to activities and certain subcontractors, so we really understand the implications. Because if there is a major issue with the works of a certain trade, this is going to influence the following trade right away. But if I'm only going to locate this somewhere on a plan, I might not be fully aware of this implication. But when you attach it to an activity and you locate it in the process, as we say, you can understand the implications much, much better. And you can try to solve these issues, especially again, early on in your project, predicting if this continues to be like this in the upcoming weeks and months, we're definitely heading into some major issues here. This is another very important dimension as we think. Also here, you could combine this with resolving times of issues. So you're basically combining the time aspect and the quality aspect of things. Or for example, QA items and answers is also a good point. How long does it actually take for the main contractor to confirm works of a certain trade? So maybe the subcontractor, the main contractor is rather the problem here in the process, and not the subcontractor delaying the work. So deep analytics here again, combination of quality and time. Commercial valuations and cost analytics is another dimension that we cover in Sablono. What you see here is a basic commercial valuation based on a predefined budget, for example, for a certain subcontractor or an amount of activities that subcontractors have to execute. There are a lot of possibilities here. The basic idea behind it is, once I understand the status of my project and once I understand the progress of it, I can much better understand the implications that this has for my costs and my commercials. So, for example, thinking about invoice control or invoice checking, a subcontractor hands in an invoice for their work, and you will always run into the question of, okay, did they actually do it? And did we already confirm the work? Is the quality all right? Obviously, as Sablono holds all that information, checking this invoice can be very quick and can be very easy. For this, you need to combine cost information and cost codes with process information, but it's possible either in Sablono or in customized dashboards outside of Sablono. But that's the basic idea behind it, to very quickly understand the evolution of the budgets and to do something like invoice control or invoice checking based on the status of the site that is being reported or that has been reported by your guys and your subcontractors. Just picking out this particular activity here, for example, for this activity that is being executed by a certain subcontractor, the overall budget consists of £50,000. Currently in progress are works worth £15,000. And if the subcontractor would now hand in an invoice of around £35,000 for completing this activity in 13 apartments, 13 hotel rooms on 13 cladding panels, whatever it might be, then we could definitely say, yes, we can pay this. It's been signed off by our construction managers. It's been executed. It's been signed off. It's been approved. And obviously, he can be paid now. And as a last example, on top of that, as I said before, you can create a lot of more dashboards and deeper analytics based on your requirements. I've put down some examples on the bottom right. Also something like cross-project dashboards if you are working on multiple projects at the same time, especially going up in your business, looking at high-level reporting. How can we report the progress and compare also the performance of projects inside our company in a visual way in dashboards, for example, for the high-level management reports. Then we can also help you there and set up something that you can use in order to report across your projects across different regions, for example, or looking only at one project for certain subcontractors and certain works, certain areas in your project, whatever it might be. So very many things are possible here, and we would sit down together with you, discuss your requirements, and I'm pretty sure we would find a good way to then visualize this also in a dashboard. That was it for today. It was meant to be a brief introduction to Sablono. If you are interested, especially in the topic of construction data analytics, so everything that I've touched upon in the last slides, we are running another dedicated webinar on this particular topic. It's the second time now. The last one was a huge success, I would say. So I encourage you to do it. It's very interesting, especially to hear it from one of our product managers who's in contact with most of our clients. He would give you some more insights into dashboards, into data analytics around quality, cost, and process, obviously. And yes, if you are interested in that, you can sign up via LinkedIn as well on our LinkedIn page, and we would be happy to see you there again. Besides that, I would be done with my webinar for today. I hope you got something out of this. You got a good overview about what Sablono can do for you or is doing in some other projects. If you have any questions, I'm going to be here for a couple more minutes. Just write your questions into the chat and I'm going to pick it up. If there are no more questions, thank you very much again for joining me today. And if you have any other questions after the webinar, you can obviously also just write me an email or send me a message on LinkedIn. I'm happy to take your questions and to see how we can work together in the future, hopefully. Thank you very much. Okay, one more question is coming from Colin. I'm quickly going to answer this. So he's asking, for the big project in London that you have shown, how long does it take to set up a project in the platform? That really depends, obviously, on the project and also the timing of the project. So at what point in time do we come in? Usually, project of the size that you've seen take us together with the client less than 14 days to set it up. Usually it's a matter of days, actually. And then as we go along in the project, every now and then we obviously add new deliverables, add new processes, and extend the capabilities of the platform a little. But setting up the basics should be done in a couple of days. And yeah, we do that together with the clients. So we have a team of customer success managers who normally sit down together with the people. At the moment, they're doing this offsite and remotely due to COVID-19. And when they're allowed to, they fly over to your site, they sit down together with your project team and set up the platform, as I said, usually in a couple of days then. Another question, what happens when I need to change the program during the project? This obviously is a common thing. You have different ways of doing this. I'm just going to jump back to one of the slides that I've shown, looking at the 3-week look ahead. Here you can change your program, you can change your schedule. And if you want to change your baseline, for example, it depends on whether you've set up the baseline on the platform or you've imported your baseline from some other tools. Then you would just re-import your baseline or do the changes here. So it's a very common thing. Most of our clients are doing this, and we have different ways of changing it. It always depends on whether you want to change the baseline or you want to change the week plan or the work plan for the upcoming weeks. So there are different layers of it and different options to do so. The link with Revit, how does it work? Going back to this visualization here, this actually is coming from a Revit model. This is the facade elevation that we have used here as a basis for the visualization in Sablono. And I would actually have to ask my engineers how we did it in this particular case. So we don't have a direct link to a Revit model, unfortunately, at the moment. This is basically an export, which we then change to a certain extent to make it work in the web. Obviously, web needs to be very performant and lightweight. Hence, we had to modify it a bit. But once you've set it up, it's fairly easy to do, and then you can also obviously update it. But this is not a direct link to Revit. This is a topic that is on our roadmap, integrating with 3D models and especially also Revit, obviously. And we're going to see a lot more around this topic in a couple of months, I guess. At the moment, as I said, no direct link to the 3D model there. Okay, Colin just asked, he didn't mean to change the program, but he meant to change the process. Yes, obviously also the process can be changed. Also in a running or in a live project. So for example, looking at the apartments that you see here on the top right, if you now decide to change it, to change the process, to kick out activities or to add activities, you would just go back to the template. So this all works on predefined templates that you then assign to all of the apartments following this template. So you only have to do the change once. For example, add the activity, rename the activity, change duration, whatever it might be. So you would do that in the template and then assign the template to all the respective apartments or deliverables affected by this. And then, yes, you can change the process. Also, this is a common thing that people do. Good. All right. Then, if there are no more questions, again, looks very sophisticated. Thank you. Glad you like it, Colin. If you like, we can also have a personal chat whenever it suits you. We can also do a personal webinar, maybe if you want to show it to other clients as well. I'm going to send a follow-up email after the webinar anyway. Once we have uploaded this webinar, I'm going to share the link with you as well, so you can also share this with your colleagues if you like. And then, yeah, if you all like it, we're happy to jump on some of your next projects together with you. Besides that, again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, again, as a reminder, join us for our next webinar. It's going to take place next week, Tuesday, and it's all around data analytics in construction at a higher level of detail than I presented it today. Okay, then enjoy the rest of the day and talk to you again. Bye-bye.